I'm the kind of player that, it's funny because I wanted to run before I can walk. When I was about probably 13, a friend of mine on the school bus explained to me who Led Zeppelin were and who Jimmy Page was, and it's like a light bulb went off.
Welcome everyone to another episode of Listen to the Vibes, and I'm very privileged to have Mr. Dallas Perkins here. Man, he's got an album out called Experimental Truth, and I freaking love it. It is insane. I was talking to him before we got started. I mean, it's like right up there with Joe Satriani and Steve Vai, and I was very pleasantly thrilled when it was sent to me and I got to hear it. And we're going to talk to him about that and just get to know him today. But let's kick it off, man.
Cool.
Tell us a little bit about you.
All right. Well, my name is Dallas Perkins. I'm a professional musician. I live in wonderful, sunny Southern California, Los Angeles to be precise. And yeah, I'm a guitarist, composer, producer, session musician, touring musician, content creator, teacher. I do it all, man. I do everything I can.
I know that's
You know what I'm
right.
saying?
I know that's right. So who all have you played with?
Oh, wow. Who all have I played? I've done a lot of original music for most of my career. Um, but recently I've kind of been busy doing a lot of various projects, tribute acts, that sort of thing. Done a lot of projects with my friend Mr. David Chili Moreno, who is the drummer for Puddle of Mud. Familiar
Mhm.
with Puddle, right? Oh, yeah. And I have been kind of a somewhat regular guest on the Ultimate Jam Night. Are you familiar with Ultimate Jam Night in
No,
Hollywood?
I'm not.
Yeah, so Ultimate Jam Night is a great thing. It's just a kind of a family of LA musicians. It's founded and promoted by Chuck Wright, bass player of Quiet Riot,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right? Up until recently. And yeah, it's an interesting thing because it kind of evolved years ago, probably 10 years ago, at a jam uh, started by James Lomenzo in the Valley here, and at a restaurant called Lucy's. And Chuck took over, and at some point he got Gilby Clarke involved and a lot of other guys, and he's just the master of promotion. And it just turned into this really cool event, like every Wednesday, I think it was, and a lot of celebrities would hang out, and it was just a super fun night. And I used to, go to head down to that every Wednesday night and play. And then it got moved to Hollywood to a club called Lucky Strike, and it kind of split off into two different jams. But Chuck's is the ultimate jam at the Whiskey, and it was every Tuesday night up until the pandemic hit. And I think we
Yeah.
did a Spinal Tap night. It's like the last, either Spinal Tap or Def Leppard or something was the last one I remember doing. But yeah, I played with a lot of different guys that were involved with that, and yeah, it's loads of fun. I did one recently, but they're on sort of a hiatus presently. So hopefully that'll be running again soon. It's a blast.
And a little fact, you
Hmm.
probably, I don't know, you might know this, but Spinal Tap was based on a few bands, and one of them was Crack the Sky, and the
Yeah.
manager for Crack the Sky was the guy that was the manager of Spinal Tap. That was
Hmm.
based on him.
Oh, really?
Yeah. talked to their bass player, Joe Macri, and man, he's freaking awesome too, by the way.
Yeah,
and
cool.
and didn't Chuck Wright just come out with an album?
He did indeed. Yeah, Chuck Wright's Shelter and Sky. Have you heard it?
I actually have heard some of it. It's pretty
Yeah, it's
bad to the
incredible, man.
bone.
It's great. It's really great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just top to bottom, man. It's really stellar. I love it.
Some great folks that from my youth that are putting out new music, and it's I love it. It's just so sad that everything is kind of taken over by this corporate, stuff that most of it's sampled, or you can tell that the music's done on a computer. It's not guys in a studio doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
But
I hear you.
so it's experimental truth.
Yeah,
First song is Beck Street.
Backstreet. Yes, indeed.
Okay, is that a tribute song?
You know what? There's a funny story with that. Usually when I go about trying to write, or especially instrumental music, with the absence of lyrics, oftentimes you're thinking, okay, well, what can I write about? For me anyway, I needed like a theme.
Right.
So, so I kind of think in terms of a storyline that I could, as if there was something I'm adapting music for, if that makes
Hmm.
sense. And I'll do that, or sometimes I'll pick a title and I'll just run with it. In that case, the title was originally called Two Past Beck, and Beck was a street in North Hollywood, which a great friend of mine, who I've been friends with for years, he moved there, and he's like, well, how do I get there? He's, well, it's two streets past Beck. So I just thought, oh, two past Beck. So it was two past Beck, and it was really a version of it was released as a single a few years ago, and it came to my attention that it sounds like I'm saying that I am two past Jeff Beck or something to that effect. And I
Right.
thought, I think I need to change this title. So so it became Beck Street, and yeah, my friend Jim is pretty intense. I mean, he's turned me on to a lot of great philosophers like Alan Watts and a lot of Eastern thought. So I thought, well, Beck Street will be this road that you go down to another dimension, another higher state of consciousness. So it kind of that's why it sort of has that sort of pastoral sounding middle section where things just are drawn out, and again, that's when I start to kind of conceive something more visually, like what's the end result of this, because I think really these days, I should say in this day and age, you really need to think visually with the
Yeah.
stuff you're putting out as well. Not you can't like right 100 years ago, people were lucky if they could get their picture on an album cover. Now it's like it's reached that age where it's like you've got to think, okay, video, you know, continually adding to it, and reach that dimension, right?
Yeah.
Where it's not just the music, which the music, of course, should really stand on its own, but it would have that visual impact as well.
It's
So,
it's kind of cool when you kick back and you listen to a tune and it either reminds you of something or somewhere,
mhm.
or you can almost picture a video in your mind. I was listening to some music the other day from an artist that works with your PR guy,
Mhm.
and I'm listening to it. It's almost as if I could see him on top of a mountain with the camera kind of panning around,
Mhm.
but then you can almost see him on the streets, just cruising. And I listen to this and I'm thinking, all I could see you is on stage jamming out.
Well, there's plenty of that. I mean, that's,
No, I mean, there's some stuff that's like space age kind of stuff, and then we get down to let's see, which one was it? In the Damnum? Is that how you say that?
and Via Domum,
Oh,
the kind of quasi-classical piece towards the end, is that?
yeah. You
Yeah.
get it kind of slows down at that point, and hear
Yeah,
nice classical music, and yeah, I could see somebody
yeah, I
like that.
certainly wanted to have a piece like that on the record, just just to show another side of my playing that everything isn't just 10, uh, shred, even though shred is a funny term, isn't it? I don't think I've met a guitar player who's a great player that really, if you ask, if you talk about do you like the term shred, who immediately will dismiss it. No, just say I'm a technically proficient player because it sounds like a term that, you know, was created by some kid on a skateboard or something, right? But
Hmm.
it's so commonplace now that it's like you have to use it. It's just become such a mainstream term to describe that kind of playing. But anyway. But yeah, I wanted to just show another side of my playing. Just it was important for me to have some kind of diversity to the album as well. So.
Yeah. So what did you play that on?
You know what's funny about that is I that was played on a steel string actually. Wasn't
Sure.
Yeah, I was trying to do something a little different. It's not I'm not a traditional classical type player. I don't have, classical technique. I the
Well,
way
you
I
could have
play
fooled
is just
me.
whatever feels right with my when I'm speaking my right hand, there's a specific technique that classical players have developed, and I just kind of do my own thing with that. So I wanted to play it on steel string as well, just to kind of give me a couple of degrees of separation from that. Just I'm always trying to be, search for something a little different. If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I'm glad you like it.
Oh yeah. Rick Emmett and even Eddie Van Halen had a way of,
Hmm.
getting that sound. And when you take it down just a little bit, I don't know, there's something really cool about that. And then the next song comes in and you're back to jamming again.
Right, back to 10 or 11.
You turn it up to 11.
Yeah,
Can
right,
can you just make
right.
10 louder? But it's 11.
Ja and the next tune, yeah, the next tune you mentioned is a song called Jaguar, and again,
Yeah.
here I am just kind of making up words and doing something kind of crazy. But you know, I thought of the term, Jaguar, like the cat, of course, but wired, I thought was kind of a cool play on words, right? Because your guitar's wired, or I'm wired playing this, or whatever. That too was released as a promo signal for the album, and it's kind of funny because I had some girl on Twitter fighting with me, like trying to correct me, like that's not how you spell Jaguar, as if I thought that,
Oh
right?
my
So
Lord.
it's kind of funny, but you know,
They just don't get it.
I like coming up with terms and something that's going to provoke a response. Like the title itself, "Experimental Truth," was well. To be honest, I had taken the term from Mahatma Gandhi's autobiography, "My Experiments with Truth," but I like it. It just honestly just sounds cool to me. And people, again, it's kind of like, well, experimental truth. What do you mean by that? What are you trying to say? I'm not trying to say anything. It's just, experimental music, truth. I thought about calling it truth, but Jeff Beck already has that. So here we go with Jeff Beck again, right?
you
But
know, Jeff Beck, he's kind of been the center of a few songs. And do you
sure.
remember Beth from Kiss? Originally,
Yeah.
it was called Beck, and they like gave Peter
Oh,
Chris a hard time, saying, "What are you
right.
calling us? Or putting out a love song to Jeff Beck?"
Right. Right. That's not working for us.
Well, the the titles of the songs are synonymous with the music. It's not your typical, what you usually hear as far as titles go. And something about you guys that are instrumentalists, you come up with these things, and
Yeah.
they go right with the music.
Yeah, I mean, again, I mean, being an instrumental guitarist, I mean, it's not the only thing I do, but in that realm, you're really in fierce competition with so many guys, and there's so many amazing players, the best thing you can hope for is to find some individuality. So I'm searching for things that are a little different, a little bit, maybe a little bit out in left field, just something, you want to kind of separate yourself out and bring your personality really into your playing and your writing as much as possible. So I think it's a pretty good reflection of me and my kind of quirky sense of humor. And you know example is the tune Mexican Puppets. Have you heard that one?
I was fixing to bring that up.
Right, okay, that's a good one. And there's a really kind of amusing story behind that. uh, Again, I was thinking of something to write about, and the track is about these two puppets that my grandmother brought back from a trip to Mexico when I was like 4 or 5 years old. And it's one of these things I remember where I was terrified. I thought they were just so evil looking. They were just terrifying. And I remember falling asleep on the bed, and I remember this had to have been a dream, but what I remember as a kid is that they came to life and like attacked me. And I think there's a thing where, when you're a child, there's a state of consciousness where you're asleep. Like when you're an adult, you're asleep, you wake up. But there's like this in-between stage, right? So anyway, long story short, I was terrified of these puppets. And I thought, wow, this would be kind of something kind of interesting to write about. So I immediately thought, okay, scary, what's scary? What could harmonic minor kind of always, you know, comes to my mind right away. So I started writing in like E harmonic minor. And uh, when you start getting into that, for me, I find myself maybe sounding like Ingve a little bit. In fact, I wrote
Yeah.
a solo for the main part section, and I scrapped the whole thing because it just sounded too much like Ingve, and who I love, and I've always been a huge fan of his playing. And I'm glad I did, because it forced me to kind of work on something that really sounded a little different and a little bit more like me.
Yeah.
But it turned out really really pretty nicely, and that is my grandmother at the beginning of the track, who I was lucky enough to have her record that. It was quite a while ago. That's an older tune. I wrote it about 10 years ago, and she is a great sport. She did it for me, and sadly, she passed away like a few months after that.
Mm.
And but it's incredible. So it's kind of a tribute to her and scaring me to death when I was a child.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that whole I just got back from Mexico or whatever it says, and then it's like,
yeah.
whoa, scary.
Right. We're descending down into the depths of what.
Does it ever make it difficult to listen to that, knowing your grandmother passed away, or
No, it actually is, it's pretty nice. It kind of puts a smile on my face whenever I listen to that again. In fact, I sent it to my cousins, and they were pretty excited to hear that too, because they had no idea I had that. And in fact, my cousin Kim sent those to me, like, I don't know, 10 years ago when I first started writing the song. I thought I could I'm like, you actually have those puppets? That's incredible. I'm like, will you take a picture of them for me? And she's like, sure. And then the next thing I know, I got them the actual puppets in the mail. And I'm telling you, I mean, they're like, I should have had them ready. I could show them to you, but you could see. I mean, if maybe another time, but even to this day, they're pretty scary looking. She sent them to me, and I need to get them back to you. Jesus, it's been like 10 years. She's like, when am I going to get my puppets back?
they disappeared?
No, I think I'll give them back to her. Then there might be some kind of taboo. I don't know if I want to keep them, but
Like
anyway.
like at a movie Trilogy of Terror.
Yeah,
She-
exactly. That's exactly what I was trying to go for there. Yeah.
Well, if anybody out there is watching this or listening to this, go look up Trilogy of Terror. You'll know exactly what we're talking about. That movie scared the living Jesus out of me. Now,
Absolutely.
what usually inspires you to write a song? I mean, is there a certain mood that you're in, or you just, I mean, what is the most inspiring? Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, sure, mood has a lot to do with it, but I've noticed for me, you know, it's important just to come up with ideas, and you keep moving because I think the mistake that I've made anyway, maybe I should speak for myself, but I think it happens with a lot of artists is that you can work something to death and you gotta kind of, keep the flow going. And once you have something captured to, give yourself a time limit, finish it, and move on to the next piece. Because some of the material on this album in particular, I probably spent maybe a little too much time on. But like the tune Jaguar is an interesting arrangement because it was released as excuse me, a single, uh, you know, several years ago, and I was never really happy with it. So I did a lot of rearranging, and I'm really happy with, the result of that one. So sometimes, yeah, it's, it works out, and like in the case of that tune, it did. But I think it's all about, yeah, mood has a lot to do with it, but keeping the energy up and, you know, moving forward, getting it done.
One of
Uh,
the one of the things that saddens me, especially with some of my favorite bands, is you
mhm,
can tell when the record company steps in and says, "Hey, we need you to hurry up and crank out another album,"
mhm,
and even though they sometimes will have a cool tune come out of it, a lot of times it's so rushed. You can tell that it's just the
mhm.
creativity's not there, the feeling's not there.
Yeah,
You know
but
what I'm
yeah, I
talking
guess
about?
that's kind of like with the business, But yeah, it's important to be inspired when you write, first of all, and that's why I like to either come up with titles or find a theme to write about because it kind of you have a sort of a perception in mind of what you want to go for, and again, I mean, I always think visually too whenever I write, and that's important for me, and but yeah,
Don't force
without
me
adding too
into it.
much more to it. I've had times when you have writer's block, sure. I mean, especially when you're in need of getting something done, getting something out there. Um, a lot of times you just have to kind of let go of it, just because if you have that mindset, you're just gonna compound the problem, you know. So,
Now, speaking of, has writer's block been like the biggest hurdles that you've ever had, or something happened in your life that you really had to work to overcome?
well, I think everyone may get a bit of writer's block, but I mean, everyone goes through a lot of difficulties in life, and I try to take whatever experiences I have and try to turn them into something positive and write about that, whether depending on whatever it is, that you're contending with. So yeah, I think it's just important to keep writing, and keep working on your craft. Yeah, I've been playing for many years, and I'm just in a constant state of learning, really, you know. Um, but I'm very happy with the kind of player and what I've come up with in terms of being an individual, having an individual sound and you can hear influences I think in my playing with you know players that inspire me, but it's always a state of evolution for me too. So
Well, I mean, Steve Vai, that I told you he's one of my all-time favorites. His inspiration came from Zappa,
hmm
and Zappa is my number one guitar player above all of them.
yeah,
But when
when we were
somebody,
talking earlier, yeah, I mean
yeah,
he's one of my early influences. I'm the kind of player that, it's funny because I wanted to run before I can walk. When I was about probably 13, a friend of mine on the school bus explained to me who Led Zeppelin were and who Jimmy Page was. And it's like a light bulb went off when I kind of understood the whole thing, and I like immediately, like, I want to be the lead guitar player, right? So you remember those days where bands like, Joe Perry, lead guitar, Brad Whitford, rhythm guitar, right? It's
Yeah,
kind of
right.
it's kind of funny, you know. It's, you know what I mean? Especially I think in Aerosmith's case, because I think actually Brad Whitford played a lot of the solos that he hadn't gotten credit for. But anyway, that's another story. Um, but yeah, I mean we're talking about Black Napkins earlier. It's just such an amazing piece. It's incredible how some of these tracks they just stand the test of time. I mean, that could have been released yesterday, and I'd love it all the same.
Oh, I
It's
know that's
brilliant.
right. I know that's right.
Yeah.
Well, and the thing is, when somebody asks you who's your favorite guitar player, that's a really hard question because number
Hmm.
one, you've got different genres,
Hmm.
so you can't compare one genre with another.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
and these guys have a certain style. I mean, I couldn't say, okay, well, I picked so and so over so and so.
Hmm.
I mean, I picked Frank Zappa because he's just a genius. I don't think anybody could touch his genius when it comes to writing music and
Yeah.
playing music. But I'm one day I might be in the mood for Steve Vai, and the next day I'm in the mood for Rick Emmett or Eddie Van Halen or
Right. Eric
Buckethead.
Johnson,
Yeah,
you
Eric
know,
Johnson. So
another one. Of
you
course, you
know,
mentioned Yngwie, Guthrie
they,
Govan. Are you familiar with Guthrie Govan?
that name sounds familiar to me. Why does that sound familiar?
Yeah, he's just brilliant. I mean, he's just, yeah, the thing is funny is, um, virtuoso is a term I think that's used kind of like genius. In Zappa's case, he is a genius, but I mean, it's used kind of loosely. When you say like this guy's a genius or he's same with virtuoso, I think it's kind of an overused term, but I think Guthrie Govan fits that bill and other players too. But without talking about too many guys, he's incredible. He's phenomenal. Only there's only so many players I don't think I've ever heard of a player that's been playing since he was 3 years old or something like that. I think it's his story,
Wow.
but yeah, he's amazing. You should check him out if you haven't heard him.
I'm gonna have to. I am gonna have to check that out. But I mean,
Especially if you love that genre of players, the Yngwie Malmsteen, uh, Paul Gilbert, Steve Vai, Satriani.
is that Guvin? How do you spell that
Guthrie
last name?
Govan, Govan,
Govin. Okay.
Van, I
Okay.
believe. Yeah,
I'll find
yeah he's
it.
great. He's pretty incredible, man.
Well, you take somebody like Lindsey Buckingham. I never
Yeah.
hear his name put in there, but when you watch him play, he doesn't use a pick. He uses his fingers for everything. And listen to his music and how I mean some of it is very virtuoso.
Mhm.
So everybody's different. Everybody's got their own way of playing.
There's
You know,
certainly so many different styles, too. So
I
you have to
mean,
take that into consideration.
well,
But it's funny. I don't really listen to like I don't sit down and listen to guitar players so much, unless it's something old like gypsy jazz, like Django Reinhardt. I listen to a lot of kind of different types, different music. I mean, I listen to reggae. I listen to, a lot of different, you know, genres and jazz, classical, you name it. I mean, because that's
once
where you can draw inspiration from that as well. Just if you
sometimes I
reach for something
want to listen
different
for the
in what you do.
bass. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
If I had to pick my favorite, John Entwistle. I just think he's the most awesome. He did everything before the rest of these guys did. But
Hmm.
Billy Sheehan, I mean,
Yeah.
good Lord, you see that guy play and he's nuts.
I saw Billy Sheehan. I grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I saw Billy Sheehan with Paul Gilbert, I might add, who Paul was a friend of mine back, but way back in the day, and I was with him the first time he met Billy Sheehan at a club called Stage One in Monroeville, Pennsylvania.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, it was crazy. Yep. So, in fact, I think I lost some hearing in my left ear from Billy Sheehan because I was standing by his amp. So
It's his
he
fault.
owes me, man.
You owe him money.
From that gig, it was the loudest freaking. It was incredible how loud they were in that little club. Yeah.
I had to blame Anthrax and Ozzy for my hearing loss. So,
There you go.
that was absolutely the loudest. Although Motley Crue, they were so loud you couldn't understand what they were even playing.
Right.
I don't like it when it's that loud.
Yeah, I know. I guess to the point where it's like, come on, this isn't helping. Yeah, I
So,
hear you, man.
who would you say is the most inspirational person in your life, whether they're still here or not?
Oh, wow, what a question. Most inspirational person. I'm not sure I can answer that because there's so many. I there's so many people that inspire me. My parents, of course, and um, a lot of the musicians I mentioned were huge inspirations to me as well. This is kind of interesting. I recently connected with my guitar teacher, who I
Really?
took lessons from when I was like 13 years old, and I hadn't heard from him in like 40 years. Kind of dating myself here, but that's okay. Uh,
I'm
and
right there with you.
I just been forever meaning to reach out to him. It's one of those things where you kind of lose touch, and he's in Pennsylvania, and I'm out here in California, but I've always wanted to connect with him again, and I did, and it's been great. And he's, you know, he, you got to think when you early on, your teachers mean so much to you, and for me, yeah, he was a big inspiration, and I only had, these days when I think of who's a guitar hero, I think of some, for me it would be somebody like my teacher, Dave Manella. He has a company called Manella Guitars in Pittsburgh, and
Cool.
he's had his own guitar making company years ago, and he does repairs and updates to guitars, and he was great inspiration when I was a kid. Yeah.
Would what era would you want to go back to if you could?
Ah, are you kidding? We're in the greatest era. We're in the era of Van Halen. Ever see that? Like, man, how bad it gets. Just think, this planet's been around for 4 billion years, and you were alive when Van Halen was alive. Ever seen that?
I shouldn't say era. Should I say what decade would you want to be in?
Oh man, I would say late 60s to 70s, into the 80s. I mean, yeah, maybe if I was a little older, who knows? I don't know, but I'm pretty happy with, the decades I did live in. But because I mean, I don't know if you agree with this, but that was just a magic time for music from probably from the mid 60s to the early 80s to mid 80s. 70s were big.
So you're blending them. You only get one decade. You don't get to combine three.
Yeah,
Bring me
well,
back to the 70s, brother.
yeah, 70s probably.
Saturday morning cartoons, man.
That's right. Brady Bunch, All in the Family.
An American Bandstand.
There you go. Right on.
I'd definitely go back there because then I could pretend to be Steve Austin again.
There you go.
You
A
know,
man barely alive.
man barely alive, but we can rebuild him, make him
Right.
better than he was before, and stronger and faster. So,
Let's not forget the Bionic Woman too.
well, I wouldn't tell you what I'd do with the Bionic Woman because I got this. I'm gonna try to keep it family friendly.
There you go.
Although she was gorgeous, wasn't she?
Yeah, Lindsay Wagner.
Lindsay Wagner.
Yeah.
Yep.
Too much, man.
Those were the days, man.
They were magical times, I tell you.
Well, unfortunately, we have to live in the era we're in. So,
We
But
do.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, man.
Oh no, I was just agreeing with you. Yeah, but it's
Yep.
okay. This is some interesting times. Let me tell you. Technology is just
I think it's too much
incredible what's
technology.
happening. I mean, yeah, it's almost yeah.
I
I would
think
agree with that. But
we've been induced to too much too fast.
eh,
That's my opinion. But some people would disagree. The only reason why I love right now is because of my grandkids.
mhm.
Other than that, send me back to the 70s.
There you go.
So,
Oh, Kyle.
do you have a website?
I do indeed. So Dallas Perkins, Dallas like Texas,
That's right. Go Cowboys.
DallasPerkins.com. Yeah, check me out there. I'm planning on actually getting more active with my site. There's so much. It's like you're always drawn into social media and updating. It's kind of like you think you get somewhere with it, and then they change the game, and it's like, oh, it's no longer Instagram, now it's TikTok, and it's like,
Yeah.
ah, it's
Hmm.
important to have your own site, right? Because that's the only thing you really have control over, I think, when it, you know, ultimately. So,
So,
but yeah,
are you
go
still
ahead.
teaching?
Yeah, I am. I have not been that busy lately. I've been involved with some other projects, but yeah,
So you doing
do
that
indeed.
over Zoom?
Zoom. Yeah, absolutely.
Can
If
people sign
anyone's
up for it?
interested, yeah, just hit me up on my site, and we can talk about that for sure.
I will put that link in the description so people can just click on it and go straight to it.
Yeah,
But
it's just dallasperkins.com/contact. Take you right to me. So
cool. And are you on all the social media sites?
yeah, I'm pretty easy to find. On Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, you name it. So
Yeah.
yeah, you can reach out to me there as well. So
And you working on a new
YouTube.
project?
Pardon me?
Are you working on a new project?
I'm actually, I am, but I'm very heavily into promo mode with the record right now. So I'm working actually on getting a couple of videos together for a couple of tracks we mentioned, Backstreet and Mexican Puppets, probably Mexican Puppets for next year. But yeah, very busy, man. It's been great though. The response from the album's been great so far, and it was a digital release, so I'll have CDs available next month,
Oh,
and
cool.
and they'll be available on my site. And initially, it's just going to be on my site for sale there, but I plan to have it, up on Amazon and other storefronts to pick up. But yeah,
Yeah,
I'll get you a copy,
oh, that'd be
Kyle.
awesome, man. Thank
Yeah,
you.
we'll connect after this, and for sure, buddy.
I appreciate that. Do you have other merch on the site that people can get?
I will shortly. Kind of revamping the site, you know, currently, and you know, I'll be adding a lot to it, especially in the store department. But yeah, I have a lot of merch and stuff up there.
Any plans to play in Austin?
You know what, my friend? I do have plans. I'm going to be working on a sort of an East Coast, West Coast tour next year, and Austin and Nashville are two of the places I'm going to set something up at. So
Uh, awesome, because I want to go.
excellent, man. That would be great.
Did you get me
Love to
backstage
have you,
though?
buddy.
You get me backstage though, right?
Absolutely, my friend. You don't
Sweet.
want to let you down.
I'll bring you Whataburger.
Sounds good.
Well,
Right on.
Dallas, man, this has been incredible sitting here talking to you
Yeah,
and
it's
getting
been
to know you.
yeah, buddy. It's been loads of fun, man. Thanks so much for having me on.
Oh, of course, anytime,
Very
man. And
cool. We'll do
any
it
new
again.
any new projects you let me know. I'd love to help promote it.
That would be fantastic. I'd appreciate it. Absolutely.
And also want to thank all of you out there. If you happen by the channel and this is your first time, I really do appreciate it, and I hope you'll come back. And please hit that subscribe button. If you're one of my regulars, you know how much I love y'all. It's because of y'all that I get to do this. So keep sharing it. Keep telling people to come over here and let's get that subscribers count up and let's do something. You know that we're working on trying to get a facility for the veterans, and we want to make sure they have a place to live. We want to make sure that they have all the help they need, both with their physical health, mental health, helping them get off of substances and acclimate them back into society, help them get their benefits. And we can't do it without y'all's support. So thank you for that. And until the next one, everyone, please take care. Be kind to one another. God bless and peace.